Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions.
Hi, what up, YouTube? My name is Tiago Duarte, and welcome to another live stream here at Daily Beats. So, this is the producer show, and this is where you get to ask your questions about music production, and I get to answer them so that I can help you speed up your learning process and maybe help you become a better producer faster. So, welcome for joining. Thanks for watching this video. And I would like to say that I'm going to be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT plus 2, which is the Berlin time. And I'm located in Stuttgart, so that you can always go ahead and Google the time zones or the different time zones or the difference in time, so that you can always be sure to join our live stream. You can also put your questions in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. And if you want your questions answered with a longer time and more thought, maybe that's the best way to put it, you can subscribe to the newsletter, where I will be sending only forms where you can put your questions there. And usually those questions will have a higher priority here compared to the ones in the chat, because those I have already there. I can take a look at them and prepare or pre-prepare the live stream. And in the chat here, as the live stream starts to grow, the chat will be. I know that for sure that I will be losing some of the questions. So if you want your questions answered with higher priority, and if you want to make sure that I answer your questions, be sure to subscribe to the newsletter. I will not be sending any promotional material or anything. It will just be stuff for the live stream, and that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and start. I have here a couple of questions prepared already, so I'm doing this because I'm looking forward to answer the questions. And so let's jump right into the questions, because there's not too much to talk about besides that, answering your questions and helping you guys out. So let's go. The first one is actually, like I told you several times, I consider myself an expert in FL Studio, and I'm also starting to become one in Studio One. And I've been using FL Studio for a long time, and I really like this tool, this DAW, and it's for me it's the best DAW that I can think about to make music, to production. But when it comes to mixing and recording, I don't like too much the workflow of FL Studio. I can do it inside of FL Studio, and I have done it, but it's not the best tool for that job, in my opinion. So I sought out some other tools, and one of the tools that I really enjoyed is Pro Tools. But Pro Tools lately had a lot of issues that I didn't enjoy, and it was a little bit hard to work with Pro Tools, so I tried to find something else. And then I started thinking about Studio One, and then I purchased the latest version, 5.3 at the time. I think now it's 5.4 since like this week. I think they released a new update, and I've been in love with Studio One. It's a tool that I really, really like. And today I have a question for Studio One. And so let's jump into Studio One so that I can show you what is the question. And by the way, the question is how to create effects and buzz channels in Studio One. So let's go to Studio One here. And if you know FL Studio, or for instance Ableton, and if you worked with several DAWs, then this DAW will not be too frightening, I guess that's the best word. Sometimes when we switch DAWs, it can be a little bit cumbersome to get into the DAW, but I think Studio One is very, very intuitive. The way to work with Studio One is amazing, I think, and it's I can see some of the things that I like in Studio One. I could see them in FL Studio, but but yeah, I think it's two different workflows, two different environments, even though they do the same thing at the end of the day. But I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses of FL Studio is recording. I don't want to say mixing, because you can still mix in FL Studio very well. But I really enjoy the workflow that I have here in Studio One, and the plugins look really cool. So let's go ahead and do something here. So let's add a track. So to add a track, we either use the T shortcut, or we can right click in this area here, and let's add a track, and let's have this audio. Okay, now let's find some loops, just some drum loops. Let's play this. No, I want actual drum loops. Okay, let's see if we have loops here. Drums, let's go to drums, loops. Yeah, here. I would like to have a complete drum loop, not maybe I don't think I can. Oh, I like this one. This one sounds nice, even though it doesn't have kicks, but we could add kicks ourselves. So let's play this. I actually like this. Sounds really cool. Let's bring the, let's by the way do a loop. Let's bring the volume because this is clipping. Let's put there. Okay, so we have now the loop here. And this is sounding cool. So let's expand the mixer so that we can just focus on the mixer. So as you can see, this is very handy. You can just drag and drop stuff. You can arrange stuff here. You can also expand or make this a different window. As you can see here, detached. So we could make this just a floating window. And I usually don't work this way. I have it built in or undetached. But yeah, I mean, you can also do this in FL Studio. You can also detach windows. So let's go ahead and see. So let's say that I want to add some effects here. If I go to the effects section here with the browser, so you can open up this here and you can hide the mixer also. So let's say that I want to add some EQ. I can just drag and drop an EQ here, and then I can start doing my EQ as I want. Let's add a low pass filter. Okay, I like that. And so now let's say that I want to add some sand effects. I could just, for instance, let's say that I want to add some reverb to this track. One thing that I can do is I can drag and drop a reverb. So let's go find a reverb here. And let's use Convology XT. I can drag and drop here in the sand. And you see that now I have an insert here. And basically this is basically a copy of is sending a copy of the EQ of the process channel into this plugin here. And then we have these parallel. So if I take this off, you see that it doesn't have reverb. If I add reverb, let's make this a little bit more intense. So now let's say that I have this, I like this. Let's bring now another loop just for simplicity, or just to showcase what I mean. And let's bring some pianos. I like this one. Let's take the mixer. Let's bring this one here and let's duplicate this. As you can see, it's very intuitive to work with this tool. It's very simple. You just drag and drop stuff. Okay, so now we have a cool loop, a very jazzy loop. So now let's say that I also want to add the same reverb to the piano. So what I could do is just drag this and drop, and now we have the same effect here. But you start to imagine that if I want to start bringing, if I want to, let me unselect that or select just the piano so that we have the selection. the full selection. So let's say that I want to start to add more elements, more instruments. And then I get to the point where I have like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 tracks. And if I want to apply the same effect to all of them, this starts to be a little bit hard because now I have to always copy and paste the same plugin. And then if I want to change the configurations of the plugin, or if I want to change the entire level that I send to this plugin, now I have to manually go into every single one, and let's say it's 17.9. Then I have to go here 17.9, and I can't even find the correct point. So as you can see, it starts to be a little bit cumbersome. And it's not that easy to start to work this way. Sometimes if you just want an effect in a single track, that's fine. And you can just drag and drop here to the sends. But there's a better way to do this. And as you can see here, we already have a track here. So let's remove this one. And actually, I think this did it for us. So what this did was it recognizes that I had two instances of the same plugin in the sense. So what it did was it created just a new track, a new effects channel, and just added, as you can see here, we have effects, and just added the effects there and just used send. So Studio One is also very, very, let's call this aux reverb. Studio One is very intelligent in this type of workflows. So that's why this saves a lot of time, because then I would have to create a new effect and then just change here the parameters and so on, and changing the effects and removing and then adding a new one. And then it's kind of a mess sometimes if you want to go back. But Studio One just makes it very, very easy and intuitive to work with. And if, as you see, we had two instances of the same plugin in the sense, so it recognizes this would make much more sense with as a send, as an effect channel. But let's now do it manually. So what we can do here is we can go to this area of the canvas of the mix, and we can right click here, and we have a bunch of options. We have the effects, we have the buzz, and I'm going to start with the effects, and then we can talk about the buzz. I'm not talking about I'm not going to talk about VCA and auxiliary channel. I'm just going to talk about these ones because these are the ones that I use the most. So let's now create a effects channel, and in this one I will call it delay, like so. And let's bring a delay here. And the good thing about this one is that I can start with a delay, and I can also put some EQ now, and I can shape the delay as I want. And let's do, for instance, a high cut or a low cut, a high pass filter, and we can also add a very soft high cut, just for the sake of it, just because we can. So now let's play. And what we can do now is go here to the sends, and let's say that I want to send this one here. I can just drag it and drop, and now we have the delay in the drums. So it's very simple. You could also come here to the plus and add either the delay or this one. Let's use this one. I don't know what's the difference, to be honest. Okay, created a new one. That's not what I meant. That's not what I wanted. So let's see if I bring, oh, maybe because I did the insert. So let me see if no, I think there's no way for me to just drag and drop, because what I did was just drag, as you can see, add effects channel. So this creates a new effect, and I can also add the same plugins there. I could add them here. As you can see, we could replicate by just dragging and dropping. So let me remove all of them. But that's not exactly what I want. So what I can do is go here. I added the delay. I can drag and drop the delay again. And we have now the delay on both tracks. And one thing one good thing about this is let's say that I want overall to change the delay volume. What I can do, instead of going here to the sends, I can just control everything through this delay knob. This sounds really cool actually. And this delay also makes it bounce a little bit. I really like it. Let's take the effects. As you can see, a little bit dry. And in this case, just makes it a little bit more moody, a little bit more evolving. And the delay just gives it a little bit of extra rhythm that I really like. But that's not the point here. I get carried away with the vibes of the beats. But the idea here is to show you the effects and buzz channels. So I talk about the effects channels. Now let's create a buzz channel. So to create a buzz, we can again go to the empty area here. We can just do add buzz channel like this. And let's call this mix. So now we could just go, how do we send this data to the buzz channel? It's a little bit different than the effects channel, because in the effects channel, I was using this as a send. So I would take the copy of this channel and send it through the to the effects channels. But now I have this mix here, and the mix is the buzz channel is a little bit different than the effects channel, because the buzz channel is used to route other tracks. So let's say that I want to route track 1 or the drums. Let's call this the drums, and let's call this piano, just so that you know which track I'm talking about. So let's say that I want to route the drums to the mix here. What I could do is, instead of going to the sends or anything, I can just go here. If I click on the main, now you see all the options that I have. I can also route the output of the channel directly into the effects, but that kind of defeats the purpose of the effects channel. For that, I think it's the buzz, the best option. So let's send these to the mix channel. And you can see now this is a little bit changed. So now if I play, we still have the drums, we still have everything. But if I mute this mix channel, now we just have the piano, and we also have the auxiliary effects here, the reverb and delay. Why? Because they are going to the main, which is this track here. As you can see, this is the main. If I call this, let's say master, it would change there to master. So as you can see that the piano is going directly to the master, and these tracks here also go to the master. What I could do, for instance, is go here and send also the piano to, instead of sending to the master, I could send it through the mix. So let's do that. And now we just only hear these tracks here. And what I like to do, basically, in this case, as you can see here, we are sending the same amount of delay to from the drums and the piano. We are sending the same amount to this track here, to the delay. So what I like to simply do is just use a send in the mix like that, and then I can remove this one and then remove this one. So it makes it more easy for me to just go ahead and change the delay amount either here or in the delay knob. This is the case where you only want to have your you only have an effect that you want to apply to everything, and you can just, instead of going and copy every single track or every single send to every single track, you just send everything to a mixer or a mix a buzz here, a buzz channel, and then you route the sends to the effects channel that you want. In this case, if I play, you now only hear the reverb. Why? Because this is sending this copy into the buzz, into the mix channel, into this buzz channel called mix. And then I'm sending a copy to the delay here. So because we have no sound in the mix channel, there's no sound also going to the delay. But now if I unmute this, we can still hear that we have the piano, the drums, and also the delay here. So how would we do this for the piano here, for the auxiliary reverb? Sorry, we would do the same thing. So let's bring a copy of this one, and let's remove these ones. And now let's unmute the auxiliary reverb. So now, as you can see, we have pretty much the same thing, the same composition that we had with the same effects, but now we have a single place where we can control the volume of the sends, and we can also control the volume of the sends here with the knobs themselves. But now we have a little bit more control over like the entire effect that applies to the entire mix. Another way to do bus tracks or bus channels is you select the tracks that we want, and we right click on them, and we use this option here, add bus for selected channels. So this is also a very fast way for us to add bus channels, and this is how we can do it. So I think that's it for Studio One and how to use effects and bus channels. And I hope you understood the difference between the two. It's not that complicated, but it might, if you are starting out, this can be a little bit confusing, and when to use one over the other one. And I hopefully help you with that question. So let's see here. We have a comment for Martin. What DAW is that? So this is Studio One. I don't think you are still watching, but yeah, here is the answer. This is Studio One. It's actually one of my favorite DAWs nowadays to mix and record tracks. For instance, the track that I did for my friend Juan, that I recorded in Portugal in my friend's studio RJ, I recorded with my laptop with a copy of Studio One, which is really nice because I think you can have multiple copies, or with the same license, you can have multiple copies installed in different programs or in different computers or machines. And with FL Studio, you can do that. I think with Studio One is up to 3 machines, which is, it's okay. You know, for a single person, I don't have more than 2 laptops or 2 machines. I have my studio desktop, and then I have my laptop, and that's fine. That's okay. And in the future, if I want, I can add a second laptop on top of this, or a different machine, and that will be more than enough. So let's see. I have here another question, which is, what is the easiest way to sound design a bass? Okay, so this is a really nice question, and this I still come back to this over and over again. It's one of the best ways for me to do basses, especially for hip hop, and also for most of the other genres. It also works really well. And let me show you how to do that in FL Studio. So here we have FL Studio, and by now you know that I really love this simple plugin called 3X Oscillator. And this is actually my favorite plugin for simple sound design options. And if we have here the default section, and if I play some notes, you see that we have 3 wave shapes or sine waves. And then we have here the chords at 24, 12, and 0. And if we look at it, we have this would be the 0, this would be 12, and this would be 24. So separate 2 octaves apart, or 1 octave from this one and another octave from this one. So this is what we have here, 3 different octaves. And yeah, so what I usually like to do with to sound design a bass, to make a really cool bass for hip hop, is I use 3X Oscillator because it's a very, very simple plugin, and it's really, really cool to use. And as you can see, just without messing with it, we have a really cool sine wave bass. As you can see, I'm playing the lower notes. Let me show you here. I'm playing C3. But one of the things that I really like to do is change here the chords or the pitch of the oscillator. So I like to put them all at 0. And now we see that we have a very low end. So let's go 1 octave higher. So what this did was it put all the 3 sine waves into a single one, so it has a little bit more energy. But now I want to change the waves. So what I like to do is actually do this diagonal sequence. So in this one I use the sine wave, in the second one I use the square wave, and in the third one I use this kind of, I don't know what's the name of this one, because it has that that curve there. But now I need to lower the volume here. Let me see. I think this would be enough. So as you can see, now we have a bunch more frequencies here, and this sounds okay, but for a bass it wouldn't be the best option. But why I do this? I do this because these adds, especially the square waves, they add a lot of higher harmonics, and it adds a little bit of texture to the bass. So now I just need to do a high cut or a low pass filter. And to do that, we have some options here. As you can see, we have the filter, and this is the fast low pass. So what we can do is move this mod X knob. And I like to put it somewhere around there. And now we have some really cool bass. And this bass has a little bit more texture than just a single sine wave. So let's see the sine wave. You could still use this one, of course, for a more pure tone, but I like to have that buzziness or that extra harmonics. It just makes the bass a little bit more interesting. As you can see, it sounds a little bit more aggressive, and it sounds a little bit more hip-hop-ish, if that's a word. But that's it. That's the way I like to do or to sound design my basses. It's very simple, very fast, and I also created, for instance, this bass 1 preset, which does pretty much that. So let's load this as default. So this is the default thing. As you can see, 3 sine waves. What I do is go here, bass 1. I have all the settings already done, and then I go here and I just apply a high pass, low pass filter. Yes, a low pass filter, and now we get this really cool bass sound. Another thing that you can do if you want a more stereo bass, let's say, is you can start to use here the detune of the square waves. So if I start adding more detune, now we start to get a little bit of a stereo effect. So let's reset this. So this is very mono, but if I start to add a little bit of detune, we start to get a little bit of effect. So let's do this in this one, maybe negative. And now this adds a little bit of movement, as you can see here, a little bit of movement in the frequencies. And because they are detuned, they are cancelling each other. And this kind of creates a stereo involvement of the track, of the synth, and it makes this sound a little bit more stereo. This would be nice to do in, for instance, in dance music tracks, where you want your stereo, you want some bass in the stereo to give a little bit of a effect, maybe. But for hip-hop, I would recommend to just leave it as mono. This would be the best one, because hip-hop tends to be a very mono, and the bass tends to be very, very mono, and you want it to be strong and mono so that it plays well with the kick. And of course, that also requires some good mixing in the low frequencies, but that's another topic. And yeah, I think that's it for this one on how to do how to sound design, or the easiest way to sound design a bass. So if you don't want to go through presets trying to find the best bass, you can just use this one, and I'm more than sure that this will help you in most of your tracks, because I can tell you that in all the hip hop beats, all the tracks that I do, most of them have a 3x oscillator as a base. Sometimes if I want like a more live bass, I use a different plugin. But if I want a very solid with a really cool low bass, low end, I go for 3x oscillator, and I use this preset thing. So I have here, let me see, 4 more questions. So let's go to the next one. And the next one, what is the best keyboard/piano plugin? In my opinion, there are a lot of plugins that sound really cool for piano. So let me show you some of the best ones that I have in my library and the ones that I like the most. By the way, if you really like some keyboard and piano plugins, leave them in the chat so that other producers can see them, maybe buy some copies or get some copies for those plugins. In my opinion, one of the best plugin piano samples or piano plugins is the Addictive Keys. This just sounds amazing. It's I can tell you this is something that whenever I want some piano instrument, I go for this one. This one sounds really cool. And I think I got this copy using, I think it was because I bought a piano from a MIDI keyboard. I think it was M Audio that this came with. So it's a really cool plugin, and I think it sounds amazing. And you can see it has several. I don't have the full version, but I do have this version that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 presets in this one. Then we have 8 here, and then we have a bunch more here. I don't want to count these, but just to give you an idea, I really like this jazzy one. As you can see, it sounds really, really jazzy, and I really like the vibe of this one. There's also one that I really like in this one, which is the Grand Noir. And as you can see, this is a little bit more moody, more dark. It sounds really cool. The low end is not that strong like the other ones, but it has a very cool mellow vibe about it. As you can see, it sounds really, really nice. And we have some extra stuff here. This section is a little bit more where you will find some broken pianos. Let me see if I can find some. So this one sounds more like, I don't know if that's the one that I... So we have this one, Prepared der Horror. So this has some really cool effects, and I really like this plugin. So in my opinion, the best plugin for pianos that I have in my collection is this one, the Addictive Keys. Next up will be, of course, we still have some really cool plugins in FL Studio. If before Flex, I will not talk about FL Studio as some really cool piano plugins. Now we have Flex, and Flex has some cool piano plugins. So we have these essential pianos, and as you can see, it's not the biggest selection, but we do have some cool piano sounds here. And yeah, I think this is also a cool one. Let's go maybe Disclose Grand. This grand piano is has a little bit of compression, and especially in the high end. This Stein D sounds really cool, and we also have a Yamaha C7 sample bass here. So this will be my second option. And this is a native one in FL Studio, so this is also a very cool third-party plugin. Then next up, I would use Let me see. I have one from Waves that I think it sounds really, really cool. Is this electric grand? No, actually, this one, Grand Rhapsody piano stereo. The stereo is not part. This is just the stereo version. Unfortunately, this takes a little bit long to. It's a little bit long to load because I have my presets in old school hard drive with a HHD, I guess. It's not SSD, so it takes a little bit longer to load. But we have some really cool presets here. Let's see this Sentimental Grand. As you can see, it takes a while to load, or a little bit. But still sounds cool, and there's a bunch of options here that we can see. We have some mics. That it's really cool that we have some mic options that we can change the mics as we want, and this is really, really cool. So this would be my third option. And then let's see, I have here some cool pianos in Expand 2. So if you don't have all the other plugins that I just mentioned here, I think a cool option will be to go with Expand 2, because Expand 2 will not just give you some pianos, it will give you a bunch of sounds. So let's see. And I talked about Expand 2 as my favorite plugin of all time, and I can't stress that enough. So let's go here. As you can see, we have a bunch of plugin sounds here, and we also have some acoustic pianos, and we have a good selection of them. The pianos here are not the best, but they are workable. Between these, having these and then having flex, I think you don't need anything else, to be honest. Having these two, so flex comes as a native plugin from FL Studio, and then a third one would be this one. But again, this ranks like fourth in terms of pianos, of the quality of the pianos. And if I go again, the first one would be this one, Addictive Keys. And by the way, none of these, I'm not being paid for by any of these companies to promote the plugins. I just like them, and that's what I use most of the times, this one being one of them. Then Flex being the second choice, third choice being here the Waves Grand Rhapsody, and fourth would be the Expand 2. So this would be my top 4 list of the best piano plugins in the market. Okay, I think that's it for this question. Let's see the next one, how to make beats with FL Studio Mobile. So I do have FL Studio Mobile in my phone, so I did bought the version to have it on my phone. Actually, I don't have it in my Pixel right now, but I had it in my previous phone, and I don't like to use it that much, to be honest. It's not hard to make. It's, how can I say, if I had a tablet, a bigger tablet, I would probably use it more. But because I do not have, and this is kind of a small, even though it's a relative okay size for a cell phone, it's not the best size to make beats on. Oops, sorry. This is not the best size or screen size to make beats on. If you are short on time and you just need to make something up, this would be a good option. But I don't know, I just don't like to do beats in FL Studio Mobile. But let's go ahead and let's see how to do it here in FL Studio. So you could start just making a beat in FL Studio here, in FL Studio Mobile, and then share it to your phone and open up in your phone if you are on the go. So that's also a good workflow, I guess. And one thing that I have to warn you is that FL Studio Mobile is not... how can I say this? This is made to be used with the mixer. If you click on this, there's no right click. As you can see, I'm right clicking on anything, and things do not work in this one because, again, this is just made to use a finger, and a finger will represent your left mouse click. Yeah, so we have here the mixer that we can expand or contract or collapse maybe, and here you can mix all the parameters that you want. So if I hit play, we do have here, let me lower the volume a little bit, we do have here a loop. And now let's load the BPM here, and let's maybe lower these to 128. Okay, so now we have this at 128, but you see that the track is still at 140. So we do have to kind of synchronize both of them if we are going to use this with our project, so that we can add new patterns and stuff. But that's pretty much it. Then if you click on this, you will see copy, delete, snap, edit, and more. So if I click on more, we have mute, unmute, and less. So if you want to extend this, you click once, and then you just drag and drop this button here, and then now we have 2 beats of a kick drum. So let's now add maybe a hi-hat. We have this one here. So to do that, we have to double click on this one, and now this opens up the piano roll or the step sequencer. So let's click here. Let's click here and move up and down, and you see that we can move things around. Again, just think as if you were doing this with your finger in your keyboard, in your mouse, in your smartphone screen. That was hard to say, and you have to always think of that. This is a smart phone screen window that I'm working with. So imagine that you are just using your finger. That will help here in the usability of this application. So now you see that I added a hi-hat here. Let's bring the hi-hat volume a little bit down. Not in this one. How can I open this to be? I don't think I can. Let's go here. Okay, so one thing that I can do is go here, and we can now add some filters here. I would like to see the individual knobs for the mixer here, but it's not showing me. Maybe there's another way to do that, but I'm not aware of this. I don't use this track or this plugin too much. So now let's add some more stuff. We have here, we call this a picked bass. So let's add some bass. To create a new clip, you just click once with the left mouse, and then add a clip, and then we can move it and expand this. Maybe let's keep it like this, and then it will auto expand as we add more notes. So now let's see. Let's add a bass line like this, and what else? Let's do something like this. I like that. So as you can see, it's as easy as creating notes and just dragging them around and making something. Let's see what this is. This is a lead. So let's bring the keyboard and let's create a clip here. Let's do the same thing, right click. I kind of liked this one here. Let's make these shorter notes. Let's make that one there, make this one here. Let's add maybe just there in there. And maybe this one is G. I don't like that one. Let's delete this one. So I feel this has a little bit of extra delay. So to go to the section of plugins, we go to this side here, and we see that we have what is this? It's a filter. We have some options here. So this is GM synth. Let's see if we have here effects. What we have? We have delay. We also have reverb, and that's it. We have only these three effects here. Let's bring the amount of delay a little bit less. Let's see what is this. Yeah, this is kind of the feedback. So you see, that's why I don't like to use this plugin too much, because it's like, I don't know how much am I giving this. Is this too much? I don't know. I can't tell how much, because I'm always looking at the hint panel to see how much in dBs or the level that I'm applying this, and I can't say. I can't even say if this is 0 or not. But let's see. Let's see here the reverb. Let's lower the reverb a little bit down. Okay, I think that's okay. Let's see what else we could add here. Let's see what this is. So this is cool because it already has some sidechain. Okay, let's see what this is. We can also add some audio clips. As you can see, this is a crash, or we could add a crash here. I don't think we have a file. We could add files by, as you can see, a clip, because this is an audio track. I click here. Now it tells me, okay, so you have your files, cymbals, hats, kicks, percussion, snare effects, snare, or tom. Let's go with let's actually go with a cymbal. Let's use this crash here. Let's bring this closer to the beginning. And now we also have some effects here, some delay. I don't want delay here. Let's bring the volume down. And we could actually make this. Can I copy this? How can I copy? I don't know if I can copy this. How can I copy? Oops. That was not the correct button to press. So I did copy this. And now I want to... Oh, we can also change the size. So that's cool. This is audio stretching. Okay, so this is copying only in that size, but I would like to copy this like every single one here. So I don't know how to do that because I'm copying in this, and then it does not allow me to paste. So I have to do this method here, like that. So let me bring another copy. Like so, and another one. So as you can see, this is not the easiest way to work with if you are using a mouse. And even if you are not using a mouse, this will not be the best option to use with this. I don't know. If you have the FL Studio, you could just use the normal way to do it with patterns and the other windows. But again, if you want to take this beat with you and use it in your cell phone and start making beats on your cell phone, FL Studio Mobile is more than okay to work. Again, I don't use it personally, but it's a cool a cool way to make beats. As you can see, this is just a demo stuff. It doesn't even sound that great, but yeah, I hope that answered the question. So let's see, what do I have here extra? So I have another question here, is how to use MPC Beats. So I have this plugin and I really like it. I think it's one of the, I've done some beats with these MPC Beats and I really enjoy it. But I'm not the most excuse me. I'm not the expert on this DAW or this plugin or VST, but I think it's really cool and I really like to use it. So let me show you what I do have here for the MPC. Where is it? Where did I put it? MPC Beats here. So this is kind of like an extra DAW on top of your DAW. Let's see, I have some updates. Let me remind me later. And as you can see, this is kind of a DAW itself. So you could make an entire beat here and you could do everything that you do in FL Studio, you can do inside of this DAW. The only thing that I don't like about this DAW is the fact that I can only use one instance. So if I go here to the channel rack, and if I add another instance of MPC Beats, I can't. It says MPC Beats already running. You already have MPC Beats running on your computer. You can only run one instance of MPC Beats at a time. I don't like this too much, to be honest, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use this DAW or this plugin too much. I really like the workflow and everything, and I as you can see, I have a bunch of packs that I bought, extra packs that were on sale, and it has some really amazing sounds, especially for hip hop. But again, I don't like it too much because of the fact that I can only use a single instance on my DAW, and I think that's a really not so good limitation. I think they could had a better way to use these, because sometimes, let's say I want to use samples, I want to use drum samples or a piano sample, and then I want to separate everything because I like to have everything in tracks so that when I go to mix, I have the individual tracks. I can't have this, but I have to go through several ways to do it. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say that I want to go, let's use Urban Roulette samples, and let's say that I choose here a kick. I like this one. Let's bring this one to this here. Then I choose a snare. Let's go with actual snares. I like that one. And now let's bring some hi-hats. I like this one. So we have 3 sounds here. Now I go to the pattern and let me see. So we have the kick here. We have the hi-hat and the snare. So let's put this at 90 BPMs. Let's do a nice drum loop here. And let's do a little bit extra stuff here. And maybe we could add something like this and bring this volume down and this one down. And now let's add some swing just to give it a more interesting vibe. Okay, so now I have to make this smaller. So I have this cool loop that I like, and as you can see, it's playing there. I could still do the same thing here in the how can I say, in their playlist, but I like to do everything in FL Studio, but I would like also to take advantage of the capabilities of MPC Beats. But I prefer to have everything on my program here. That's why I don't use these too much, even though the sounds are really, really cool and I like them. But the way for me to do this is to take out all the tracks that I need is I go here to the mixer, actually here, and if I play now, you see that I have the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat here. And what I have to do is export these, put stereo out 1, stereo out 3 and 4, and stereo out 5 and 6. And you see that still, let's put this on track 1, it's still only on one track, but now if I go here, and if I go to options and processing, and I auto map outputs, now I have the kick here, the snare, and the hi-hats. So now I just have the snare, the kick, and now I can control the volume of all the elements. But as you can see, this takes me a little bit of time, and I don't want that. I like to just have everything in my... I like to have more control in my DAW, and even though the MPC Beats, you could do this, everything inside here, I don't like to go through that, because then exporting, it's not the same. I like to export everything in FL Studio, and then I can export every single track as a stereo output, an individual stem, so that I can bring up into Studio One and mix my tracks. So I do like these MPC Beats, but I'm not the most the best person to talk about it, because I only use it when I need some really cool drum loops or drum sounds. And then what I do is basically this: I route everything into tracks, and then as you can see, it's been in track 1, but then I routed the outputs and I mapped them to different channels. The thing is that every time that I do this, I cannot use track 2 and 3 anymore, because if I move this to track, let's say track 5, what happens is that now I have here everything moved also. So this doesn't move with my, as you can see, I did some panning and volume changes to my hi-hats, but this does not move with moving here. So it's a little bit harder to use the MPC Beats inside of FL Studio because of this. I don't know if this is the limitation for FL Studio or if it's a limitation for all the other DAWs, but I really like this plugin or this program, and I would like to see it to have extra instances so that I can load just a sample and just use it, because I have some really cool packs here that I really enjoy, and I don't use them too much because of that. But besides that, this tool is really cool, and maybe in the future I will start to learn a little bit more about this, and maybe do some get a feeling for how to use the DAW better, so that I don't have to go back and forth with FL Studio and trying to find the best way to route everything, and going through this, taking extra time just to route stuff. So I think that's it for this question. I still have 2 questions here that I want to go through. It's already 7 o'clock, but let's just go to this one. I have one question that I had in one of the videos that I did for direct wave, and this question pop up in my YouTube comments. And the question is how to sample longer sounds such as tremolo. I think you are confusing things here, because a tremolo is not a sound itself or a sample. It's more like an effect that you have in the instrument that you are playing. And every instrument that you have, like let's say a piano, or let's say a violin note, or even electric piano, you can add tremolo to that. And tremolo basic, it's just a fast, not fast, but maybe a varying LFO. You can add tremolo with LFO. So I would say tremolo is more like a effect that you add to, or maybe an articulation, or I don't know if the articulation is the best word, but I think so. It's something that you apply to an instrument. It's not how to sample tremolo. You don't sample tremolo, you sample a note that has tremolo on it, or you sample an instrument that is being played with tremolo effect. And you can pretty much do tremolo to any sound that you want. And if you want, you can add tremolo. For instance, let me show you some instances of tremolo on electric piano, and you will see that. So let's go to FL Studio here, and there's a plugin that I really like, which is called Velvet, and this plugin has some really cool tremolo sounds. Let's see here. So let's use this pianette tremolo. As you can see, this is a tremolo that is going from right to left, left to right, right to left. Let's see if we can find something else for tremolo. Maybe not. But again, this tremolo thing, it's just going, it's a variation of the, it can either be the volume, it can be the pitch. And for instance, this is in the electric piano, but we can also have tremolo on strings. And there's a plugin that I really like, which is this one, Companion Strings from Sony Vox. And they have here, as you can see, several articulations. We have sustain, staccato, spiccato, pizzicato, and tremolo. And this is articulations that you can use. So let's see, let's go to strings. This takes a little bit to load, but it will show you what are the differences. So this is not, so let's see now. So this is sustain, staccato, pizzicato, spiccato, spiccato, pizzicato, and now tremolo. As you can see, it has this up and down vibration. It's kind of like a fast LFO that creates this type of, it could be in the volume, it could be in the panning, it could be in the pitch of the frequency, it could be in several different parameters. So when you say how to sample longer sounds such as tremolo, I think you are confusing two things. So longer samples don't have to have tremolo, and tremolo is something that you apply to a sound. It's not itself the sample. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the way to sample stuff is, let's say that you have a note like this. Let's go. You have this note that has some tremolo. What you can do is just quick render as an audio clip. So now we have the sample. Let's normalize this. A little bit too loud. And now we can just either use this in direct wave. So let's see, direct wave, where is it? Sampler, direct wave. And you can just bring this sample into direct wave, like so. And now we can play around with the notes. So this would be the original note. And now we can, I don't know why it's so low. Let me bring up the volume. Okay, because we have this just with the normalizing didn't happen. So what I'm going to do is basically, let me just go to all. Let's edit this in Edison just to show you how to do that. Let's normalize this, okay? And let's reuse this sample here. Let's remove this one, delete all zones, and now let's bring this one into here. So now this will be a little bit louder for you to see. So if I play this red note, this is the original note. Let's put a little bit louder. But now I can play other notes. So as you can see, I just sampled a sound that has tremolo, but it's not the process of sampling a sound. It's always the same, independently of the sound having tremolo or not. So I just wanted to make the distinction, make it clear that it's not one is different than the other one. So I think the person that asked the question was mixing a little bit of the concepts, but this is basically how you do it, how you sample a sound. If you have a sound from an instrument that you want to sample, or if you just have a simple piano sample or one note or something like that, you can bring it into direct wave, just drag and drop. And now we have more octaves to play around with it. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it would work maybe for some extra high notes here. Still sounds good. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope that answered the question correctly. So I think that's it, guys. It's already 7:10, and we have been doing this for 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I think I will finish the live stream here today. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your questions. If you want to have your questions answered, I will have a link in the description where you can subscribe to the newsletter, where you can post your questions, and I will have them here answered in this live stream. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will have the link in the description, and in this newsletter I will be only sending forms where you can ask your questions. There will be no product marketing, no trying to sell you stuff. It will be just question forms so that you can post your questions, and in the next live stream I will be answering your questions. So if you have questions about music production that I can help, be sure to send me the questions so that I can help you speed up your learning process so that you become a better producer faster. So that's the point of these live streams, is to help you guys become better producers faster and answer your questions here live with FL Studio or Studio One. Those are the two DAWs that I'm most comfortable with, and I can pretty much show you anything, do anything in those DAWs that I want. So I think that's it. I will be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT +2, which is the Berlin time. So if you want to check against your time zone, just search for Berlin or Stuttgart, which is the city where I'm from, or where I'm located. I'm from Portugal, but I'm living in Germany, Stuttgart. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching the live stream. Again, if you have your questions, be sure to subscribe to the newsletter or put them in the chat in the next live stream, and I will be more than happy to help you guys and try to answer your questions so that you can become a better producer faster. That's the idea for these live streams. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.